Hey everyone, Mia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at why Venus and Saturn are kind of really highlighting this month of April and how we can use this blend and fusion of both of them to uplift our relationship lives. So now, to start this off, Venus and Saturn are coming together in a conjunction on Monday, April 7th, so very soon. And Venus is still in her retrograde cycle. And when we talk about conjunctions, or just generally any planetary aspects towards each other, there is always something we call an engagement range. And the engagement range is essentially the 3 degrees give and take that planets take until they conjunct a planet. And this is important because the conjunction will take place on Monday 7th, but Venus and Saturn have already been traveling close together since around the end of March. They have already entered this engagement range, and they will stay in this engagement range throughout the whole month of April. So they're really close together this whole month, and this is also why they're really highlighting this month. They're really important. What we also have this month is a full moon in Libra on April 13th, which is ruled by Venus, and also by a Venus that literally stations direct just about an hour after the full moon. So super prominent, like it is so prominent with this Venus retrograde cycle, and obviously it's going to be ruled by Venus that is close with Saturn. Not only that, we have first of all, the beginning of Taurus season, which is a Venus-ruled season. And then a bit later, at the end of the month, on April 27th, we have another moon, the new moon in Taurus, which is also going to be ruled by Venus. And then a few days prior, on April 25th, is when Venus and Saturn come together again. So really, this whole month is so highlighted by Venus, and especially, the thing is, it's highlighted by Venus, but because Saturn is so close to Venus, it's always going to impact both of these planets. They're going to really take over the month of April. And what we also have to take into consideration is that this is happening in the sign of Pisces. And the North Node is currently also still in the sign of Pisces and constantly hovering around near both of them, which takes on a bit of a different meaning. And it could also just play into our relationships or everything that is happening around our relational lives feeling much more significantly fated or more karmic, if we can use this word, as if things are kind of meant to happen the way they have to happen. And today we're going to do 5 themes to watch for. I'm going Adam Ellenbus here, okay? Those of you who guys know, Adam Ellenbus has been my astrology teacher for a long while, so I'm going a bit into his footsteps here, but I just think it's nicely structured, and Venus Saturn are about structures, so I think it's perfectly fitting. And the first theme we're going to take a look at is taking responsibility and being committed. Venus and Saturn realize that if we want to have good relationships, it requires us to take responsibility over our wants and needs, because we can only really build a solid connection if we are serious about what we want and what we need. So otherwise things can become very like wishy-washy, and if things are wishy-washy, like if you don't really know what you want, or if you're unsure what the other person wants, then what gives you a reason to fully commit? Because it's like it just doesn't really fit well. And so if we want to provide stability in our relationships, we need to take responsibility in forging it. And we have to take responsibility over the sacrifices that we are willing to make and the time we want to invest. Okay, relationships of any kinds, but really everything in life is always an investment. And sometimes investments don't pay off. But with Saturn and Venus, it's just kind of pushing us and giving us the nudge to even consider the possibility of taking more responsibility and just leaning into how would it feel like if we would be more committed. Because I know for some people this is super scary. Commitment is scary. I fully get it. But just even realizing that we have the ability to be committed is already so golden. So even if it's something that is outside of your comfort zone, I highly suggest you just kind of leaning a bit into that energy of what it feels like to be a what does it feel like to be a person that can actually commit to someone? Okay, maybe it's just by the month of April. Maybe you're just willing to commit to someone for the whole month of April. But even that, this gives you insight into the fact that, yes, you can actually be committed. And isn't it so nice to just know we have the quality and the ability to commit to someone or something? Because good things take time. And we have to always learn to endure in some sort of way when we are loving another person. Obviously, there is also a downside to that. Some people can endure too much, or we can endure way beyond our limitations. Still, we are talking about Venus and Saturn here, and Venus and Saturn together are the principle of enduring for love, sacrificing things for love, for a relationship to bloom. Because a relationship always kind of involves endurance and taking responsibility in what sacrifices we are willing to make. And the thing is, we can only really know or get to know another person if another person is committed, or if we are willing to commit, by letting things take time and shape and life just kind of happening. We need, life to happen to see, is it worth the commitment? So, because we have to see what actions does the other person take? What actions are we taking? Are we taking actions? So it's really a good time to get to know other people through not only what they're saying, but what they are doing. Okay, we want tangible results. And you can also just simply observe yourself. What are you doing or not doing during the month of April for other people? Because this will also give you a lot of insight about yourself and your capacity right now for commitment or non-commitment. And there is no right or wrong, okay? There isn't like, oh, if you don't learn to commit this month, you're failing to learn the lessons. No, it's simply about observing, okay? Simply about observing, what are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do for somebody else? Because that will also give you insight into what your wants and needs are. And then again, being able to take responsibility about what you're willing to show up for or not show up for. And this is great. That's exactly what we want to do. So again, we just need life to kind of be unfolding and see what somebody's doing, because we only get to know another person in time. So for example, when you go out, how does the other person treat the waiter? What do they do if they promise you something, but they fail to deliver? How do they react? Or maybe you go on a small trip. How do they react if there's something if something goes wrong? Maybe the hotel you booked, there was a mistake and now you can't stay there. What do they do? How do you react? And are you compatible in that? Because this is how you actually get to know a person. And Venus Saturn literally reminds us that this takes time and patience. And there needs to be this component of time to fully get to know someone. And this kind of brings us to the next point, which is quality time. Venus and Saturn is literally all about quality time, because as I already reiterated before, it takes time and patience. Good things just simply take time and patience. And I think it's so interesting because Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra, okay? And we all know Libra is ruled by Venus, or Venus is ruled by Libra, let's put it that way. And it's interesting from a dignity perspective. Libra is the only sign that has a benefic planet and a malefic planet doing extremely well in this respective sign. No other sign has this. So we see this balancing act here again. But I just think this wonderful quality of why is Saturn exalted in the sign of Libra is because there is this beauty of appreciation when you know something took a long time to build. There was consistent time and effort put into something, and there is just this quality of time which makes relationships more beautiful. Now, I'm not saying that just because a relationship lasts a long time that it is good. It doesn't have to mean that at all. There's plenty of relationships that I have witnessed that lasted 50 years or even longer, and they weren't good. But we can still say that, generally speaking, relationships that last a long time have a certain quality to them and beauty to them because you've had somebody be your witness, see you, witness you through different life phases, and you witness them through different life phases. And there is this connection that can only really be made once you get to know someone over a long period of time and make experiences with them and make memories with them. So there's this love that really can only unfold in their natural way of unfolding, which is time. And it's interesting how we often use time as a symbol of relationships. Like it's a tool to measure something by how long it lasts, which again reiterates this fact of why is Saturn exalted in the sign of Libra, the quintessential sign of relationships. And there is this ethereal or eternal beauty, almost this timeless beauty, which is so Venus Saturn, of relationships that stood the test of time, which is also so Venus Saturn, like the test of time, you know. I just love this as like this word we can put on Saturn and Libra together, relationships that stood the test of time. Because there is always some sort of like pressure or testing that is going on, and how beautiful it is if we have somebody in our life that stood the test of time. There's just like this deep bond that can only be formed when we stand the test of time with somebody. And Venus and Saturn, they both respect time as a concept, and they want to get the best out of it, which is quality time. Quality time is literally the love language of Venus and Saturn, like so spot on. If you have prominent Venus Saturn placements in your chart, I can guarantee you, I'm so sure your love language is quality time, which makes so much sense. And I think there's just something so fulfilling that when you spend when you spend time with certain people where you forget that time exists, right? This is exactly when you know you've spent quality time, when it's interesting because time is such a Saturnian theme, but then when we spend time with people we really love, respect, or whatever, time starts to flow in a different way, and 2 hours suddenly go by into 30 minutes. And isn't it so wonderful? Watch out during the month of April if you have any sort of people in your life or enter your life that make time feel timeless. This is exactly the people you want to spend your time with. Because isn't it just so beautiful? And like if you truly appreciate someone's company because you know it's genuinely enriching your world to the point where time doesn't even play a role, this is quality time. Then the third thing I have for you guys is the beauty of consistency and effort. And I think my favorite example with this one is when we take the example of planting a seed, which I have just done recently. Okay, I have a balcony garden, and for a few years now, I have always grown my own seedlings. And what do we have to do if we grow and plant our own seedlings? Well, they take consistency and time and effort to take care of them. Every day I have to look after them and see how are they doing? Do they need more sunlight? Maybe sometimes I even put them in the sunlight so they get more sunlight. And what do you also need for plants? You need good soil, good sunlight, enough water, and a good place where they can grow. So, and when we do all of this, we are rewarded with a beautiful harvest. And so relationships can only grow into something beautiful if we invest time and energy in them. They can only grow if we keep watering the seed. And every time you meet a person, there is a seed that kind of gets metaphorically planted between both of you. And then it's up to both of you. Do you want to keep on watering it or not? Do you want to give it sunlight? Do you want to put the right context, which would be like the surrounding it, that it can fully bloom? Maybe sometimes it's not worth it, right? That's also possible. And then what happens, right? If you stop watering, the seedling kind of dies out. And that sometimes also needs to happen, okay? Not all relationships are meant to last, but today we are looking at the good sides of Venus and Saturn. So we're taking this, for example, okay? And again, ideally both parties want to put in the same effort and take care of the flower, which is metaphorical for the other person. Because imagine when two givers meet, both people willing to take care of the seedling that you have both grown, things become so, so, so beautiful. And isn't it nice knowing just that somebody put in extra effort to do this? I feel like this, because I titled it The Beauty of Consistency and Effort. Like, I'm not sure about you guys, and this is also maybe because I have Venus in Capricorn, so I have Venus in a Saturn ruled sign, but knowing that somebody put effort into something melts my heart. Like, that's the way to my heart. It just feels extra special knowing that somebody put extra effort, because I'm not so big on gifts. Like, I love gifts, but I only love gifts if they have come from a place of putting genuine effort. Like, if somebody, like, you know that feeling when maybe sometimes you mention something in a conversation and somebody just like picked that up, and then your birthday comes around and they gift you the exact gift or the thing you have been speaking about. That for me is like, wow, you took the effort, you actually listened, you paid attention to what I said. That makes someone feel so special. And this is the value and the beauty of Venus and Saturn and effort, things taking effort. Like, it's also in a way such a beautiful language of love, because it signals to us that somebody cares enough and has paid attention. And that's kind of what relationships are about, right? It's somebody is like, I will pay attention to you. I will be your witness. I will make you feel seen. So I think this is really the beauty of consistency and effort. And maybe look at your life. Where is this missing? Where can maybe you give more consistency and effort? Where do you wish more consistency and effort? Ask yourself these questions. Then, fourth theme we have is integrity. Venus and Saturn are so, so, so big on integrity, because integrity comes from self-respect. And because both of them know that relationships only flourish when both people can show up authentically, right? Because if you're not showing up authentically, then there's always going to be parts that you feel like are hidden. And every time where there are parts where you feel like are hidden or you can't fully express themselves, it's so much easier for resentment or anger to build up over time. I think what Venus and Saturn often reiterate is that simply love is not enough. There also needs to be respect. And how do we gain respect for someone? Well, it's really after we sense that they are being integral and handling from a place of integrity, which is, again, a quality we can only observe over time. So it really, this good things takes time is like such a, word you can put on Saturn. Venus. Sorry, my brain functions in 3 languages and sometimes I don't know the right words for things. A banner, I don't know. Anyhow. And also ourselves. The way that we learn to be in integrity with ourselves is when what we think, what we say, and what we do all aligns. And really everything starts from ourselves, okay? We can only expect someone else to be integral when we are coming from a place of integrity. Venus Saturn is really, they want someone that's an equal, okay? There needs to be mutual respect, mutual integrity, because Venus Saturn is like, I can only expect something out of a relationship if that's what I'm bringing to the table. Okay, Venus Saturn is super big on that. So if I'm struggling with integrity and respect in myself, how the heck should I expect somebody else or to find somebody else that respects themselves and respects me, like if I can even do it myself? Venus Saturn is very big for that. Once again, question to ask yourself this month. Where am I not handling out of integrity? And am I perhaps expecting things from others that I myself cannot deliver to myself or to others? Big question to ask yourself this month, and something to work and improve on, because that will greatly impact the way that you can be in relationship with others and what you can expect from others. Okay, it's so much easier to expect this from others if we know that we are handling from a place of integrity, self-respect, and authenticity from ourselves. Okay, fifth and last thing, focus on security and stability. Kind of a given. If you've ever heard anything of Venus Saturn, it makes so much sense you would associate security and stability with Venus and Saturn. And if we want to have solid connections, they require to have a solid foundation that is built upon security and stability. Because as we all know, the most important part about building a house is the foundation. So if the foundation is shaky and unstable and all over the place, like forget that you will be able to build any sort of house that lasts or whatever, you know, like it just doesn't work. And you can clearly see this in maybe certain countries or something, or videos, you know, I'm sure you've seen these videos where like a house was built, apartments were built, and then a storm comes or something, and like the stress test comes. And you can clearly see, was the foundation good or was it not good? Was the house built too fast? So once again, requires time and patience. Venus and Saturn are here for the long term. They like to invest in the long term, be here in it for the long haul, but they have to have a feeling of, is it worth to invest in the long term? Okay, if Venus Saturn doesn't feel like the investment will be worth it, of course, we never really know, but at least there has to be this feeling of this investment should be worth it. Only then do they start to commit, okay? And Venus Saturn is also often associated with testing ground, because we need to have pressure of tests to get a feeling if a relationship will work out long term or not. And this requires, again, patience, endurance, observation, like just waiting, okay? And I know that's hard for many people, so ask yourself, if this is something you're struggling with, can you just slow things down a notch and just land in the mode of observation? Just land in the mode of observation. Of observing yourself, of observing the other person. That can give you so much more insight than just simply, I don't know, putting your projections or thinking you know where things are going. You will get to know people a lot better if you simply kind of observe what they are doing. Like, let the people reveal themselves to you who they are. You don't have to like go out and search. Like, they will reveal themselves, and trust that what you see is important. Like, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time, right? That's what they say. Seriously. And this is also why ideally, I know the reality is different for some people, but ideally, you want to marry somebody after a while, or even commit into a committed relationship after a while. I know there's attachment issues. I know there's traumas. Trust me, I've been there. Like, I'm not looking down on anybody that rushes into relationships. Definitely been there. But if this is something you're struggling with, that's exactly for you. Like, that's exactly what you need to learn. Because I think most people just have a hard time grasping that getting to know somebody just requires time and effort and patience. And that can be so hard, especially in today's dating culture where everything is oversaturated and you just feel like the next best thing is waiting on the corner. It's like, what will we choose? You know, will you rather invest time and effort into one person, one connection? Or will you kind of just feel like, oh, I'm going to like go there and see if this fits, or go there, and if something is not right? No, like, what happens if you really take the time? But again, you have to feel like it's worth the investment. Because if you don't respect someone, if Venus Saturn doesn't respect someone, it's already over. Like, if you don't have respect for a person, like, it's not worth the investment. I can tell that. So, Again, why exactly you want to wait till you maybe marry someone. Venus and Saturn is also about commitment, or sometimes if we have Venus Saturn transits in our chart, it can signify a deeper commitment, which is something like marriage. So this could also be in the foreground for you right now. If you've already been having a relationship for a long time, it might be a time where you seriously consider, should I get married to this person? Or maybe even a proposal happens, which would be lovely. But if you're more new to a relationship, or a relationship just starts developing, take time and observe before you even decide if you want to commit to someone. Because dating is something that has to be learned, okay? And I'm laughing here because I think my ideas about dating were completely freaking wrong. And now that Neptune exited my 5th house, I can even see how freaking wrong they were. And because for me, for the longest time, I just thought, oh, like you fancy someone and boom, you're in a relationship. And it's like, no, you want to get to know someone. I mean, maybe that fits for you, I don't know. But if you want to commit to someone long term, you seriously need time. And to get to know someone, like actually saying you know someone, be with them at least throughout all the 4 seasons of 1 year. And then you can kind of say, I know someone. But you definitely don't know someone after a week or a month. You just don't, even if you spend every single day with them. You need life events to happen to see how they handle things, especially the harsher things in life, okay? These can really be stress tests. Like, how does somebody handle if, I don't know, their mom is in the hospital? What do they do? Does this align with your values? Would you handle the same? All these things are so crucial and important, especially for long-term committed marriage life, because this is where love is definitely not enough. You have to have multiple things that actually work out for you to have a good, solid marriage life, or just committed life, okay? It doesn't have to be marriage. And again, most relationships break because this is the lack of foundation they do not have, essentially. And what do we need as a foundation of our relationships is like the 3 C's, you know? It's chemistry, compatibility, and communication. So chemistry. Are you attracted to one another? Like physically, mentally, and spiritually. Maybe sometimes not all of them hit off, but be very clear on what you need. Okay, how attracted are you to someone? And I think with love, it's just, I think this chemistry is very primal level to some degree. Like you're either attracted to someone or you're not. Like you either have that spark or you don't. And sometimes that spark can change, I know, but you ideally, you want to have someone you're actually attracted with, okay? Like don't dismiss that. Some people are okay with attraction not being such a big factor, but honestly, I feel like I tried to rule that out many times and it just never worked out because I was like, I don't feel fully attracted. And then it becomes more like a friendship, right? And it's like, you don't want to land there, okay? I think we all deserve to have people in our lives that are waiting at home patiently for us to like devour us, okay? Where you're like, oh my gosh, like you feel you're so enamored with another that, yeah, there needs to be this chemistry, okay? You need to have some sort of attraction and chemistry. Otherwise, it will be hard. But maybe if you're willing to make it work without that, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not judging. The second C, compatibility. And this is exactly, do you have the same values? Do you have the same intentions? The same or at least similar long-term goals or ideas about what you want to do or what is important to achieve in life or like live a good life? I think like this is often a very underlooked step. Like it's not just about like, obviously the important part is also like having children, not having children, getting married, not getting married, or like having the same values as in, oh, we both value open communication, or we both value going on a holiday every year, or something like that. There has to be some compatibility there. Okay, and this is really where love is not enough. You have to be compatible in multiple other areas of your life. Like, can you do life well together? Do you surpass hardships in a ways that is both suitable to both of you? Okay, super, super important. And I think one thing I always question myself, because Venus Saturn likes to think long term. And it's like, imagine yourself, you and your partner, someone, both 80 years old, you have a house, whatever. You're both sitting at the front porch. Is this the same person that you want to talk about your day with? And if the answer is yes, you're on a very good road. If the answer is no, maybe start to rethink some things, because that is super important. And what I can say from my life, I mean, I'm not 80 years old, but I have worked in old people's homes. I have worked in psychiatries, and I've also worked in old people's home psychiatry, and I've learned so much about life there, because it does something to you. If you see people at the end stages of their lives and how they're happy or not happy or whatever. And there were also many couples there. Like sometimes both couples were in the old people's home or something. And it's like, I mean, and some of them straight up hated each other. And I'm just like, that's not what I want, okay? You need to be so smart about this and really think long term about, is this the person you would want to live in an old people's home with and have the same conversation with about your day, talk about your day with, talk about your spiritual topics with, talk about life with, like, is it enriching to you? Could you still talk to this person about all of these things when you're 80? Okay? This is a very important question to ask. I'm sorry, I'm being maybe a bit over dramatic here, but I just think it is important to ask yourself this question, because if the answer is no, then what the hell are you doing? Like, you don't even want to be long-term with this person. So really think about that this month. Really, really think about that. And then third C, communication. Big one. Probably like the one that most people struggle with, or that is just always in the forefront of, like, oh my gosh, communication everywhere, you know, not just love relationships. Like, I always find it so funny, like when you build a new team or something happens and you have to like put your values, and everybody is like, open communication, open and honest communication. And then one person actually openly and honestly communicates what they're feeling. And everyone's just like, what the hell are you doing? I always found that so funny. And I'm laughing because I'm sure I've been in that shoes too. Like, it's like saying you value open and honest communication, actually openly, honestly communicating, two different things. But I think just generally when it comes to like the foundation of our relationships, it's just like, can you even communicate well? Like, do you speak the same language? Okay. You want to be with somebody that you do not have to constantly translate your soul to, that kind of gets you in some sort of way. Okay. That you at least kind of speak the same language. And I don't mean like literal same language. Like, I'm sure you know, like the soul's language. Okay. Because there are people that have been living together for years and have never properly communicated, okay? I've seen this so many times when I worked as a psychiatry nurse, okay? Especially when like the partner comes in and you have like this talk with both of them, and you're like, you've never talked about this? So yeah, anyhow, I feel like I could do a whole separate segment about that. But that's just so important. Like, you want to be with somebody that you can actually communicate with. Simple things where you kind of feel understood. If you are confused, okay, this is a big sign. If you are confused constantly, that's not a good sign. That's a telltale sign you're not communicating well. If you're constantly confused and you're like, I don't know what I'm feeling, I don't know what I'm thinking, I don't know what the other person is thinking or feeling, I don't know if they're committed. Like, a good person that can communicate openly and honestly, you won't have to constantly question and second guess them, because they will make it abundantly clear and they will communicate it to you. And hopefully you are that person too, okay? It goes both ways. It takes two to tango. So yeah, these are all things that we have to look out for this month. I'm going to say them again. Taking responsibility and being committed. Look out in your life where this is lacking or maybe not lacking, where you should or take more responsibility and be more committed. Quality time. Where are you spending not enough quality time? And finding relationships where you can spend more quality time with them. The beauty of consistency and effort, realizing where do I need to be more consistent and put in more effort for things to actually bloom, because things will only grow and bloom and develop and gain harvest if we put consistency and effort. Integrity. Where am I living out of integrity? How can I be a more integral person so that I can expect integrity also from the other person? And a focus on security and stability. Where can I give myself more security and stability? You know, if you're single, that's completely fine. You can always start with yourself. And then afterwards, where can you give maybe other people more security and stability, or ask for other people to give you more security and stability? So this is what Venus and Saturn are all about this month, and I love this energy. I think it will be so useful, especially with Venus returning as the morning star, really being powerful. We have a new and a full moon ruled by the sign of Venus, so it's such a prominent month of just relationships and building a better foundation for relationships. And I think we all really need that, because we all deserve fulfilling relational lives, okay? It doesn't have to be romantic. It can just be everything, okay? You can apply this to all your relationships. And this is what I have for you guys. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, because it helps out more than you know. And also, make sure to comment down below. I always love reading comments. Seriously, I really love reading comments. Also, even if somebody leaves a lengthy comment, I love that, okay? Leave a lengthy ass comment about your relationship life. I will read it and I will respond. And other than that, if you found this video useful and you know maybe somebody else that might also find it useful, make sure to share it and forward it to them, because it helps the channel grow, it helps me grow, and I really want to deliver you guys quality content. So it helps out more than you know. And this is what I have for you today. Enjoy this Venus Saturnian month. Much love and bye.